Good morning, Warhammer fans! We're coming at you from Adam's Nerd Room for a fantastic recap of the FAQ that was released yesterday. This is Inches and Cubes, your Toronto-based Warhammer 40k podcast. As always, it's me, Point and Click Nick.
Holy shit, it's me, Paul, Mr. Fist Fowler.
Me, Adam, the truest axe.
We're going to be covering all the FAQ goodness and badness. Stay tuned after this musical break. And we're back.
That was the most energy I've seen a human have this for like 4 days.
It's tough to get that much energy when you are almost 30.
It's also been tough to see a lot of humans the last 4 days.
Yeah, I've just been in my house.
Oh yeah,
like squirrely, taking care of like a lot of stuff, but also not in my house because I was like, to hell with it, I'll go outside.
Nice.
For
those who
all I'm getting is my turn on the hobby picks, please.
Oh yeah. For those of you who have no context about what we're talking about, number one, the event and reason why we haven't seen very many humans is here in Toronto. There's been a huge ice storm, and then the thing Paul was just talking about was live on our Twitch feed. We have a special camera called the Paul Cam, and it was on, and it was very intimate.
Yeah, it was all up in my grills.
Yeah.
So that ice storm was something else. We went for brunch on Sunday, and I don't know why we did that.
Yeah.
It was a bad idea.
It was a bad walk.
I walked all the way back to home, and I was like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Yep.
You brave lads.
And it's almost May. Welcome to Canada, I guess. I've got a person from India and a person from Portugal who started this week. We got them work permits, and they're working for our company. And they're like, what's going on?
Who allowed this to happen?
We're like, we did, yeah. We're like, oh, well, you know what? It's only going to be worse in the actual winter. But let's get a little nice, fruity summertime beer going. We got a new brewery today. All new breweries today. This is from the People's Pint Brewing Company. So this used to be a brewing collective, and now they do a lot of brewing with the brew community in Toronto. One of the cool things about this place is they always have GTA Brews, which is a local homebrewing association. They always have one of their members' beers on tap at the brewery.
That's cool.
Which is really cool. So this is Mango Fett. This is a milkshake mango IPA, which sounds weird, but I quite like it. It's it's fruity. It doesn't really have that super bite from an IPA.
Yeah, because it's mixed with Kool-Aid for kids. Smells okay. It doesn't taste too mango-y. I was worried that it was going to taste like a Yankee Candle when you told me about it.
Yeah. No, it's like a very subtle mango. Like a real mango.
I need to take a few more sips now, because my first sip I was totally expecting something else.
Yeah.
And now I have to readjust my expectations.
Just listen to a sip.
Yeah. Don't worry, I usually cut out all the sips. Or as many as I can. It'd be cool for a hot summer day.
Yeah. I dig it.
Nice.
Drank 2 of them on Friday night.
Yeah, I'll go nice with some fish and chips.
Yep.
A little bit of vinegar.
So yeah, as we said before the musical break, we're going to be covering the big FAQ and all the little FAQs that snuck in that surprised me, because we're all psyched for the big FAQ. There's a lot in other FAQs as well, so that made no sense, but you get where I'm coming from.
I think the big FAQ is the actual event of the FAQ being released.
No. The document says big FAQ.
Oh, what do I know?
Okay. That was a creepy laugh. So, hobby progress.
Desk.
Hobby desk.
Yeah.
Right. Hobby desk.
Hobby desk. Hobby desk.
I'll go first.
Sure.
I had a lot of things. So terrain night's been going well, number one. So we've got some really cool Necromunda buildings that are really coming together. And we laid down a bunch of paint. So we actually kind of simplified a process where Normally we kind of take the airbrush from doing metals and, work up a 3-step layer thing for metals. And we just bought 2 rattle cans of silver, kind of a darker one and a lighter one, and did the same thing.
Nice.
And I think it worked pretty well. So, and then we just sat there the rest of the evening and block filled in armor panels and details and stuff. And, yeah.
I like fast.
You do that with your fists, right?
Sort of. I do a beige and then a yellow on top of it.
But both full coverage, right?
Yeah.
You're not going for any gradients or whatever.
Yeah, but like, I don't worry if there's still beige left in recesses and stuff, because I'm going to be hitting that with washes anyways.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that idea for terrain, actually.
Mm-hmm.
It worked out really, and we got a bunch of silver left too to use on future terrain, which is nice. Kind of a fun little thing that I started and have gotten pretty far on is a cool Forge World Great Unclean. What's his legit name?
Scabiothorax, the bloated.
Cool.
Scabies.
Yeah, Scabiothorax.
Scabianthrax. Scabies anthrax.
What are scabies?
Really?
But like,
Either scabs or scurvy.
It's an STI.
Yeah, but
Scabies.
which one?
Scabies.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it's
I
its
thought
own one?
Yeah, I thought it was slang for another one.
No.
Well, okay.
Well,
well,
Either way,
Straight up STI.
he's got all of them.
He does.
he- you know what? He looks pretty happy about it.
He loves it. I love that his tongue's wrapping around his sword.
So
Yeah.
gross.
Finished up the Sisters of Silence and Custodes Bikers, and I'm really happy with the results. Finished my Necromunda gang, which is really nice. Right after the podcast last week, I jumped back on the live stream and did the last session to finish them, and so I was happy that they're all done. Worked on a little bit of Mortarion, and I think I missed some things, but yeah, did some random just finishing of things, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, Paul, what do you got?
I went ahead and started on the base for that Dorn commission, and I'm trying to find like a good brush recipe for Alpha Legion. So luckily, John Tung, a fantastic painter in our group, pointed out that there's a Duncan mixing tutorial on how to do it with a brush, so that'll work fine for one or two bits. And then I assembled the Wild West Exodus stuff for the Encounter Wargaming channel, so we'll have some of that soon. So it was the James brothers, so Jesse and Frank James, and Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday were the characters, and they're actually really cool. Doc Holliday has this big rebreather because if you know the historical character, he had tuberculosis, so he was always having problems with his lungs and stuff, and that's part of his mythology. So having this big rebreather gas mask and his pose as opposed to the rest of them, he's got his thumbs hooked in his belt buckle, and he's sort of just looking around, and it's
Ready to pull out his mini teacup and flip it around.
exactly, for anyone who doesn't understand, that's because Doc Holliday was expertly played by the one and only Val Kilmer in Tombstone, along with
Russell
Crowe's Wyatt Earp.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a really good movie. But those models, they look cool. It's fun to be painting models and have their guns be in the same scale as them. It's really weird. I was like, neat, look at this gun. It's like a gun.
Yeah, it looks so tiny.
It kind of looks more badass in a way. To have just a guy aiming a little gun.
So Men in Black when Will Smith gets the shooter?
The noisy cricket.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. Those models were fun to put together, and they went together pretty quickly. There's no instructions provided, but all the instructions for Wild West Exodus stuff are on their website, so that's super handy. Yeah, and then just random little bits, doing a couple of touch-ups on the model that I use as Lysander, just because I was thinking about maybe fielding that a little while ago, but I didn't snag any pictures of it. Yeah, just fixing a couple of mistakes and putting an eyeball on them.
Just one.
Yeah, because I based it off the Praetor, the limited edition Tribune.
Nice.
And where he has the scar over one eye, I just did one eyeball. So yeah, that's that's been my hobby progress.
Cool. I just kept taking more Sharpies to the Death Watch. Did just a bunch more metallics. Just got in there a little bit more. I think that's really all I did for hobby stuff. Yesterday I picked up a couple watercolor brushes that I gave one to Adam and Paul here for them to try out.
They're very fun to touch.
Yeah, so basically the idea for this is like it's a reservoir, and then you squeeze the reservoir and it goes down into a brush. So it's meant for water, but I tried it yesterday with Nuln Oil gloss, and it just went right in there. The brush is pretty thick, so I don't know how detailed you can get on it, but I think I got some finer tipped ones coming. I think it's just going to make washing a lot. You're not dipping your brush back in the paint, wash, whatever, over and over again. So it's quite nice.
Yeah, they're a neat idea, and I'm excited to see the finer tip ones too, and kind of see what practical use these can be for.
Yeah, that's my hobby progress.
Hobby desk.
Hobby desk.
That's what's on my hobby desk.
Oh,
yes.
What's on your hobby desk?
Yeah, so I feel like we got a lot of stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Games.
Cool.
I got no
General's
games.
Armchair. I know you never do.
I never do. I will this time, next time.
Better.
And you're gonna have 3.
Yeah.
It's like you like to save them up
3?
and then just unload.
Yeah. I'm gonna play Mike. I'm gonna
Yeah.
play you or Connor, and then Sunday I'm playing my league game against Brian Chow.
Oh, nice.
He wants to test out a Hogtowner list.
Okay.
Hey, did you guys know about the Hogtowner? You should check out the Hogtowner. Google the Hogtowner.
Does it show up on Google?
Who knows?
Get some fun stuff on it.
Adam, you got any games? Well, I check to make sure that's factually correct.
Yeah. I played a Battlefleet Gothic game, so that counts because it's 40K.
Strictly no, but go on.
Same universe.
Sure.
Uh,
I'm going to start using that excuse in my regular life. Paul, we didn't do the dishes. I made my bed. What? Same universe. Fine. Frig off.
in what universe did you...
In what universe is someone demanding me make my bed?
It's true.
I'm going to bug you every morning now.
It's okay. I make my bed every morning because I'm a friggin' adult. Sorry,
Yeah, you're all right.
Mom.
So Battlefield Gothic, it was a learning game for me, and so buddy James from Hogtown 40K took some time out to graciously teach me the rules, and that he did. We went, we definitely carved that rule book to pieces, and had some interesting moments come up where he came at me with his big Orc Grand Cruiser, and he came straight at my battle barge with a whole bunch of bombardment cannons, and he didn't like the results of that.
No.
Because in one turn I blew up the biggest ship he had. I was surprised that the second stuff started going on orders and everything started getting a beam, how ineffective things were after that. Because even though you have so many more guns on your side, it's so advantageous to be on the side, but you still really want people to be coming straight at you, which is interesting that's the way they...
Well, it's old school naval tactics. So World War I naval tactics, there's a term called crossing the T, whereas if you crossed another ship's T, you destroyed them. Because it means they could only bring their front guns to bear against you, and you could bring everything against them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because it also lowers the profile of what's coming at you, so it is harder to hit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you aim all those cannons properly, you're going to hit that mast and probably take them out. But anyway, it was cool. It was good to get back on the table with a game that I actually really loved a long time ago, and kind of see some of the small changes. The one that surprised me the most, I think, was only being able to fire your turrets at either torpedoes or attack craft.
Yeah.
I was like, it totally caught me off guard, and I just did not believe James at all when he told me that. I was like, no, we're looking this one up.
Yeah, that's why James has a good tactic where he launches boarding ships and boarding torpedoes. So you have to
From the same ships.
From the same ship, yeah.
Which
so you
is
have
crazy.
to pick. You're like, I'm getting boarded.
Nuts.
Why it works.
And those ships, which is I was really surprised about. All his ships have lots of turrets.
Yeah, they only hit on 5s though. Every other turret hits on 4s.
Doesn't matter. I mean, you're coming at one of my escorts.
Yeah.
I only get one turret plus one if I'm in base. His
Yeah.
guys have 3 turrets plus
Oh, I
one
know.
if he's in base.
I play a carrier fleet. I hate his guys because they
Yeah.
just have so many turrets, and you're just like, oh.
But they also make turrets a lot better. They kill stuff on 4s.
Yep. His kills stuff on 5s though. That's the only difference.
Yeah, I know.
He's got more,
But he can shoot at both.
right. Yeah. So what like you haven't played it in how long?
Like 8 or 10 years.
What did you think of the game?
Yeah, it was cool. It's going to be fun to learn, and especially once I learn more about what my stuff does and what other things do, then it'll be easier to like finagle the strategy.
Yeah.
But it was very much getting bogged down by like having to learn those rules again. But yeah, I know in like if I play 5 more games, I'm really going to love it. So
Yeah, Space Marines are funny because like they're not what you think. Like you just gotta just right into the heart of the enemy.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, and then do hit and runs and do boarding actions and yeah.
Yeah. Which is funny because Chaos is the opposite. Chaos is sit back, long range, and just
do circles and
shoot people.
Yeah.
Which is fun. I really like the game. We should get in a game soon.
Yeah,
Yeah, be down.
sweet.
Yeah. Purple ships coming for you.
X gonna give it to you.
Yeah.
All right, Nick.
Nicholas?
Yeah, so I got 3 games. I also played a Battlefield Gothic game versus James. I'm working on doing a photo battle report, actually. I think Battlefield Gothic really lends itself to like the photo battle reports rather than a video battle report because it's kind of like a boring game to watch because it's so like abstract. But a photo one will do it.
Unless every time you brace for impact, you got a shot of the guy going, "Brace for impact!"
That would be dramatic.
You're so intense.
I got distracted like taking notes on the game. So he like first turn he was like I'm gonna ram that ship, and he actually made it like he obviously didn't do this on purpose. I don't think he was thinking. So he like turned his big ship and then rammed me, which you're not allowed to do. So going back over pictures, I was like, there's no way that could have been possible on that angle. And he rammed one of my light cruisers and blew it up first turn.
What a sneaky git.
And I was like, well, that's a fifth of my entire fleet gone. And then, yeah, it was the rest of the game was like fun. I had like 2 carriers kind of like dueling with a squadron of escorts and another carrier. He snuck off the board with 1 hull point left, which was just infuriating. Because you can disengage in Battlefield Gothic. If your ships are about to be destroyed and you don't want to give up full victory points, you can fly. I guess it's flying, float off the board, or like attempt to disengage by going to warp. So he got off the board. His escorts got off the board. I can't really think if there were any other funny moments that really happened. I got my ship, my capital ship, like right down the middle of his fleet and just blew stuff away. But then orcs just repair everything really quickly. So it was like, oh, all that damage you did is gone.
Yeah, those big ships he has, they have so many hull points.
Yeah, they do a lot of damage. And they do a lot of damage. They take a lot of damage too. But it was a lot of fun. James was really nice. He actually made me colored ordnance markers, specifically with the chaos. Like, so it's got Hellblades, Harbingers.
Harbingers.
No.
Harbingers.
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 Go on.
Harbingers, Dreadclaws, Doomfire Bombers. I think that's it. And Chaos Torpedoes as well, which just look like regular torpedoes because we all use the same torpedoes. But they're in full color and they're on photo card, so it's going to make games look a little bit better. He's got actual 3D torpedoes.
Yeah, they look cool.
Which is super cool.
Where did they come from?
Battlefield Gothic. You used to be able to buy small craft to like be represented in the
We
game.
used to be able to buy any.
That's true. Yes.
Like, this is... I don't understand you guys enjoying Battlefield Gothic. It's... To me, it's like, let's go play with antiques.
It's fun. It's
Yeah.
a fun game. It's a different thing to play. It's a very different mindset because it's very much like you're thinking ahead to turn 3 and 4 at the start of turn 1. Where is this ship going to be in turn 4? It's just a weird, fluid kind of thing. So that was my Battlefield Gothic game. Then I played John Tongue in a 30k game. I believe we... Oh, man, what did we
Was
play?
this your, like, 4,000 point game?
Just 3,000 points.
3.
We played 3,000 points with Lords of War. I think we played the one... Well, it's kill points, and then you secretly choose a unit type, and you get extra kill points for killing those unit types. So he picked flyers, because I have 4 flyers in my list, and he would get 3 kill points for each flyer. And then I picked tanks, because he had 5 tanks in his list, and I would get...
You get 2 for tanks.
2 for tanks, yeah. And the game was really weird. Just bad luck on his part. First turn, the Falchion fired. He was playing Alpha Legion. Rolled a 1 on the destroyer table. And I was like, well... The next shot was a las cannon into a Dorito Dreadnought, and it blew up the Dreadnought in 1 hit.
Well, I don't want to interrupt you, but I do think it is...
You did. You did want to interrupt me.
I wanted you to interrupt it.
Man,
No, I'm kidding.
take this personally.
You always complain about me
I
interrupting
know, because you do it mid-sentence. I waited until you were, done with your thought. All right, we got a Spice Cherry Paradise Lost from Blood Brothers. They're here in Toronto, just down the street. And this Miltonic Brew has no copy about it, so we're just gonna...
We'll make some copy.
Yeah,
sir.
We'll just see what this is all about.
Ooh.
Oh, it's pink. Oh, man. You guys are killing me.
Paul does not like his sours. Ooh, it's tart.
I really like Blood Brothers. I like all their imagery. It's very occulty.
Yeah, their copy. No, what do you call it? Their graphics.
Yeah. So let's see what we got here. Who wants the rest of that? You bought it. And then you have the dregs.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
It's a sour.
Oh boy,
It's a good sour.
woo! That's a punch in the mouth.
Yep.
Paul's preparing himself
Yeah.
physically.
Nope, not for me, man. Holy moly.
You don't like sours.
I don't like this sour.
This is what a sour is.
No, a sour is not a pink cherry flavored beer.
Wow, this is more akin to that super sour what were those
Warheads?
warhead
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that just made you that one
Yeah,
we had
this-
a few weeks ago.
This takes all of the moisture right out of your mouth as soon as you sip it.
Paul's not having fun.
I'm doing fine. You guys. Yeah, so tell us more about the games.
Yeah. So, like I said, rolled a 1 on the D table, then blew up a Dorito Dreadnought. Biopsychic Shock went off after I killed 1 Iron Havoc and killed 5 of them. So he had 1 Iron Havoc Sergeant with a Vigilator and an Apothecary just standing on top of a building being like, well, this guy's got a las cannon, let's stand behind him. And then turn 2 is when it really turned. I got a Dreadnought, charged his Land Raider, blew it up. Terminators were inside. They charged my Dreadnought. I killed 1, and then the Terminators did their own thing. Then I fired the Destroyer cannon at the Fellblade that he was running and rolled a 6 on the D table. But then only rolled a 1 for the 6 plus D6 hull points that it did. So I only did 7 hull points. But then,
Only.
Yep. And then the las cannons finished it off. What was a weird moment? Oh, yes. So I failed to charge the Palatine Blades into his assault squad with his Praetor. And then he got a squad of Tactical Marines out of a Rhino and just opened fire on the Palatine Blades and killed all of them. I just failed all of their saves. And I was like, well, that's cool. And then he charged his Killy squad into my less Killy squad. I won combat, swept him and his Praetor, and then he charged another squad in, and I swept them as well.
These things just happen to Nick.
Yeah. Oh no, these things just happen. I don't make too hard lists. Blowout.
No, that's totally dice.
Yeah,
I know.
Something got dice there.
Yeah, that was it was bad. But yeah, it was a solid win. Definitely. You really don't like that.
I really don't like that.
And then Sunday, I played a super fun game against Phil's Khorne Demon army with my orcs. So this was an all-assault army versus an all-assault army in 8th edition. This was before the FAQ dropped, which we'll talk about in a second. But basically, I just put 30 boys in his face and crumped some bloodletters, and then it was weird because like the orcs against bloodletters hit on 3, wound on 3s because they're toughness 3, but bloodletters get +1 strength in the charge, so they're hitting me on 3s, wounding me on 3s. So it's just like whoever charged first. So I got a turn 1 charge off with the big squad of 30 boys, squad of commandos. The war buggies blew up a soul grinder, which was hilarious. Burner Bomber did some good work. He then deep struck in 30 bloodletters, a big bloodthirster, and a demon prince. And the demon prince charged 1 battle wagon. The bloodthirster charged another. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And he charged the big squad of bloodletters into the big squad of orcs that had ruined his day. And blew up both battle wagons and killed all the orcs except for 1 who was on the Maelstrom objective that he needed. And I paid the 2 command points to keep him there. And he just couldn't consolidate enough to get more bloodletters. Get any bloodletters within 3 inches. So it was a soul grinder was holding the objective and my orc boy with a power claw. He was like, yeah! Then he fell back and Phil forgot about him for a turn, so it was just like 1 lone orc boy just sitting in the middle of like 100 Khorne demons just being like, alright, I hope these guys don't notice. So he blew up the battle wagons, then the boys got out, and man, 16 orc boys just brought down a bloodthirster. He just killed him. It was bad.
Yeah, that feels bad, man.
Yeah. Well, hitting on 2s, wounding on 5s, strength 10 power claws, and then the other squad of boys killed the demon prince. And then oddly enough, 2 weird boys killed the other bloodthirster that he was running because they just charged the other bloodthirster and put like 4 wounds through, rolled high on the D3 damage. He'd already taken some wounds and he died.
So with smite, they did it.
No. With their 4 staffs.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it was just funny because, like, 8th is such a shooty game, so this was, like, really, really getting into, like, making sure you're activating your units in the right order. So he had 8 command points, and he spent them all before the game even started, putting things in reserve. And buying a ability to give his bloodletters a 3d6 charge. So it was interesting because I'm like, oh, you have 8 command points. It's like, nope, they're all gone.
Okay, I mean,
All right.
I'll give Phil this. He loves ballsy strategies like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like most of us will be like, well, what if I need a reroll? And he's like,
Yeah. But like I said, like I activate, then you activate. Having those command points to be like, no, I interrupt was really handy, and it was just good practice for like fighting another assault army because like those activations and the order you do them in are super, super key, right? Because like he forgot to activate, or he just did it out of order, and I was able to kill a squad that if he had activated them first would have killed me.
yeah.
Huge.
Yeah. It was a really fun game. The big FAQ we're going to talk about drastically changes both these armies, so I definitely want to rematch with them to see how it goes with the new rules.
Well, speaking of, should we take a little break and then get right into the main topic?
We should.
Sounds like fun.
Get all fact up, as it were?
Battle Brothers Studios, a commission painting service passionate about making your miniatures and your gaming table look great. Our philosophy at Battle Brothers is this: your army is our army. Every model will be something you can be proud to show off. Send us a message on facebook.com/BattleBrothersStudios for a free quote and make that dream project come to life. We also have something special planned for the release of 8th edition of 40K. Right now, get 20% off if you commission us to paint an 8th edition starter set, or get a 10% off Army Bundle bonus for painting up your new 8th edition 40K Army. Inquire with us on Facebook for full details.
You know, when I'm not cracking cold ones, I'm popping paint pots and putting brushstrokes on miniature figurines. And you know darn right that I'm getting my supplies from thewarpainter.com, a hobby store in the Great White North. Thewarpainter.com is Canada's greatest hobby store for all things hard to find. Scale 75, Broken Toad, The Army Painter, and Valet Ho. All supporters of Encounter Wargaming get 10% off their first order with the code EWG10. They got you covered.
And yeah, we're back after a 1 minute sidebar on teaching Paul how to clap properly.
You just put your lips together and blow. Wait, no, that's whistling. You know how to clap, don't
So
you?
we are here today to talk to you about something that really came not out of the blue, but also really out of the blue, because we were promised this in March, and it's now almost the end of April. And they weren't like, oh, next Tuesday it's coming out. They're like, today, in 1 hour.
Yeah, because they were probably like, it's done. It's done? Is this done?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
So the big FAQ got released, which is one document. I think it's like, 7 pages?
Mm-hmm.
Which is got some new rules, new point stuff, which I found strange that they did in an FAQ.
Yeah, I think the big points one is Sly Marbo's now 65 points.
Yes. Not my point. But
I won't laugh at that.
you shouldn't. It was terrible.
Yeah, you've got so many better puns.
I lost my train of thought because of your shitty joke.
It was your shitty joke.
I know.
I love you guys.
Ah!
So they put this out. It was seemingly out of nowhere, and they live streamed a conversation about it.
Yeah, and it was so popular that the entire Games Workshop Warhammer community website went down.
Yeah, they crashed the servers.
It's awesome.
When somebody was like, let everyone know that the website broke before the guard did. Which is great. So we're going to guide you through mainly the big FAQ, all the new, because it's all brand new stuff. We're going to touch on a few things that are going to change the game. And Paul, your new catchphrase is really dumb from the big rule book. And then we're going to talk about the things that affect our specific factions that we play.
Wait, my catchphrase is it's really dumb?
For this episode,
Okay.
You were like, that's dumb.
That's dumb.
That's dumb.
That's dumb. Yeah.
So, Adam, why don't you take us through the finalized match play rules? So these were rules that were beta and are now finalized.
Yeah, this is super cool. So Psychic Focus was a big one with smiting. I mean, we all saw right when 8th dropped, people very quickly realized that doing mortal wounds is the way to it's high damage output because there's no way to stop it.
Yeah, it's a path to victory.
Yeah, and so people just made lists trying to find a bunch of smite batteries for as cheap as possible, and GW quickly realized there was an issue, and so they put out a beta rule because they wanted to fix it properly, which we got to appreciate those efforts and allow the community some input. So we like that, right? That's all ultimately a good thing. And they went with their beta rule with a slight modification. So the way they released the beta rule was you can cast smite, but if you cast it again, then it's -1 to your casting roll. And they changed it to, instead of that, it's now +1 to the warp charge value of the next smite you cast.
So the spell changes, not the roll.
That's right.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately better because there was this weird, I don't know, what do you call it, balance, teeter-totter effect where it got harder to cast, which was what we wanted, but it also became easier to deny the witch on.
Harder to deny the witch.
Easier to deny the witch because their roll was lower. It was easier for me to stop you smiting, on top of the fact that it was harder for you to smite, and they didn't want the double layered
Gotcha.
effect.
Okay.
They just wanted to make it harder to cast. They didn't
Right.
want to make it easier to stop. So changing it to adding to the warp charge was a big deal, and I like that. That's a welcomed change, I like that having that time for beta allowed them the time to realize the mistake and changing it in that way, and I hope they continue to do this kind of stuff in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And also, it keeps your odds of getting your more powerful version of Smite, your above 10 version of Smite off.
Yes.
It doesn't stop you from getting that.
Yeah.
which is good.
Yeah, totally. And it's, I mean, orcs have a way to still kind of get around that with so many pluses to cast, but really they're the only faction, so...
I mean, Grey Knights, Thousand Suns all get +1 to cast. I think some Eldar people do
but
as
they can't
well.
stack them by, like, hoarding around a bunch of boys, right?
No, but like the first 2 or 3 smites for like the psychic inclined factions are still going to be pretty simple to get off, which is fine because that's their strength, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to be able to do 5 smites in one turn because then you're casting on a 10.
Good luck.
Yeah.
So now also they have made exceptions, which are something that has the Brotherhood of Psychers, see Codex Grey Knights, or Brotherhood of Sorcerers, see Thousand Suns. And so basically your units that come equipped with those mini smites aren't affected by this change to it, which is also very nice because their army is built around needing to do this.
Unless you're a demon player playing against Grey Knights and then you're just getting hit with 3 mortal wounds 10 times.
Yeah, I mean, and that reveals, it plays to the fact that that's what we're supposed to be good at.
Yep.
Is killing you.
It's just nuts.
Yeah. So, hey, let's crack a beer and then we'll quickly do the next one. Hey-o!
So this is El Chupacabra, which is a goat devil that eats people?
No, it's not a goat devil. It eats goats. It's like a
demon that eats goats?
It's not a demon. It's a cryptid. So it's a. Sorry guys, I'm a big nerd. It's like Latin America Bigfoot that kills goats.
Okay.
Chupacabra actually translates to goat sucker because it sucks their brains out or blood. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Anyways.
So the other one was targeted characters. So they basically wanted to eliminate people trying to intentionally use their own units to like create a line of sight funnel, so all they could see was characters and then blasting them with blast cannons.
Yeah, so the best example of this would be like using a rhino to block a line of sight, so all you can see is a character.
Yeah, the term for it was rhinoscoping, which I quite liked. And
that's dumb. It's not in the spirit of the game.
It's not in the spirit of the game, but it doesn't fix the fact that like you'll have scouts so far ahead that are now screening for your characters very effectively.
Let him read their new rule. He isn't ready yet.
Oh, go for
Yeah.
it.
So basically now they took away the fact that units can be visible and closer to any unit that's just closer. Prevents characters from being shot at.
Yeah.
Which is prevents that, which I like that it prevents that, but it does cause interesting challenges where it's really easy to hide units completely out of line of sight and kind of it can get kind of gamey to like really doing weird stuff with characters.
So a good example of this was a game I played with Paul, and this kind of happened incidentally. It wasn't my game plan.
It was once you noticed it.
It was once I noticed.
These things just happen to Nick.
Yeah.
So basically, there was like a firing line of beer cans because we were playing Beer Hammer.
No, this was just terrain. This was just terrain.
Oh, there was no beer cans?
There was no
Okay.
beer cans.
So he had a Leviathan Dreadnought, like just only could see 2 weird boys who were just kind of like dancing out in front of the rest of the orc horde. And I had, I think, done the jump and dropped a unit of boys. And I think there was like 6 or 7 left, and they just hugged a piece of terrain, so they were super close to the Leviathan. But he would have to go all the way around a big piece of terrain, and
They weren't even super close to him. Like that, they were hiding behind a building that was just adjacent to him, or a rock that was adjacent to him, and he couldn't see them.
yeah, but they were like much closer than the weird boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the weird boys were just out in the open, and eventually smited him to death.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So there is a little bit of feel badsies there, but I think what's worse feel badsies is the rhinoscoping. It's like
I don't.
I think they're the same.
Yeah, I think you're just picking what shitty situation you're okay with.
Yeah, but at least now I still have control over hiding my own characters, and you can't do something dumb to like game me. That like I get to hide.
Yeah, you
right?
get to do the dumb thing.
Right, exactly.
Like it's
I think,
or
or you. Like it's at least the player has complete control over hiding their own characters, and someone can't be like really weird about getting around it.
The exception to this rule is other characters, which is good.
Which is a welcome change because there's so many times in which a tank or a dreadnought full of a bunch of different weapons is standing right beside 3 characters and has to only pick one.
Yeah.
Right? And that's just silly.
Yep.
So and not that the person's trying to game some weird character advantage.
They were with the Collectus Assassins being out in front, only getting on 6s.
Yeah, there were people who were doing that. I've never been in that situation, but there have been interesting situations. Like when I played Machinar's Tyranid list that I described a couple weeks ago, all he had at the end were zone throws and neurothropes, but I couldn't shoot any of them except for the one that was right around me, even though they were all right around me, you know.
Oh, you weren't playing beta rules?
Well, the character as the exception, was that a beta rule?
I don't think there was any changes to this.
I don't think they had that characters don't count when targeting other characters. I think they added that later, which was a nice little like, okay, good, thank you.
I think it was in there. I'm not sure.
Was it?
Yeah.
I can't remember 100%. Anyways, the way they have it now, in my opinion, it's a welcome change, and I like the way they have it.
So yeah, two welcome rules. I love again. We've got universal special rules coming back, kind of.
Yeah. I'm still not satisfied with the character targeting rules. I don't like them, but I'm not gonna be salty about
If
it.
all characters were support characters, it would be okay. It's when you've got characters that are shooty, stabby, and super psychic.
Mm-hmm.
Because it makes sense for a support character, right? Like, a guard, commissars, he's not leading from the front.
Nope. Or like an apothecary. He's mixed in with the dudes.
Yeah.
But just like...
Oh, your reboot Guilliman, he's like 6 inches away versus those scouts that are 5.5 inches away.
Yep.
Like, it's...
So they've also introduced in this big FAQ 2 new beta matched play rules. One of them is more game-changing than the other, I think. So we'll go into the first one. So tactical reserves.
They're both game changing in different ways.
Yes.
Right. One is the actual gameplay, and the other one's like army construction, and both are needed, I think. And so it's going to be interesting. The fact that they're beta rules is cool. To that previous point, that Games Workshop wants community feedback on this. So very cool.
Yep.
So
new rule for reserves. So we all know how reserves work. You set them up in the hyperspace oubliette, the teleportarium, the charnel dimension, the webway, the hyperspace something.
The realm of Attack for the Dark Eldar, some of them.
The shadow.
The shadow, yeah.
Just hiding under a box for orcs.
If it's good enough for Solid Snake, it's good enough for you.
So you put these guys in reserve, and then they can just show up first turn, 9 inches away from an enemy unit. Well, that's changed now. Now, if you deploy units on the board that were held in reserve, first turn, they have to be deployed in your deployment zone.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting, because I never saw combat armies as being a major player in tournaments, and this rule really hurts combat armies that rely on that first turn deep strike and charge. Like, I don't feel this nerfs the shooty element of an army.
It doesn't at all.
Yeah.
This entire FAQ is basically like the value add for your guard army. Like, once we get into it. But it's... I don't know if this was a needed change.
Nope. There's some interesting things that come along here that have to be cleared up. So this doesn't apply to Gene Stealer cults, because they have their own special thing.
Can we? Sorry, before you move on.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to be mined here. Can we focus on this?
Sure.
Well, let's get into the exceptions to the rule.
For tactical reserves.
Yeah. Because there's exceptions to the rule.
Oh, is that what you're moving on to?
Yeah.
You're not moving on to Battle Brothers?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so this rule doesn't apply to Gene Stealer cults or something like Scouts that use the forward operative rule, or Alpha Legion, Raven Guard. I think there's a few other rules that allow you to set up before the game begins.
Yeah.
So
I'm glad they clarified that, because if you read it, you would quickly figure out that there's no issue there, but people don't like reading things.
Yeah.
And I fall victim to that, where I don't read them thoroughly enough.
But there's one thing that's not clear.
Yeah.
Does this affect units that start on the board and then use an ability to redeploy, such as
The jump, a veil of darkness, the
Upon Wings of Fire,
Upon Wings of Fire.
Blood Angels, and there's probably a few others out there. Honestly, rules as written versus rules as intended, but I think it's 50-50 on if that's true or false.
I mean, we kind of worked through it verbally before it started, and I think with the exception of a previous it would have been clear, except for a previous FAQ that now is making it unclear.
Yeah, so it says if you arrive from reserve on your first turn, you have to be deployed in your in your deployment zone. And the question is, if a unit's on the board, it's not arriving from reserve.
No, but if the rule says as though they had just arrived from reserve.
Yeah, but you're confusing. So going back to an FAQ that was released earlier, not in this big FAQ, it said, do units arrive? When units arrive, do they count as moving? And the FAQ said, yes, count these units as if they are arriving on the table. Now, that answer is to a very specific question, not an addendum to the special rule.
Also, this is saying this comes out after addressing first turn deep strikes.
Yes.
So this takes precedent.
Yeah, context is king, I think, when coming to a conclusion on this.
Yeah.
So my opinion is that the jump would still be legit, that you should still be able to do that anywhere on the board, but I think you guys disagree with me on that.
I'm 50-50 on it. I see both ways, and it can be argued both ways, and there's no way to prove anybody wrong, which happens in this game sometimes.
Yeah. Again, and I'm essentially arguing against myself, because I think that those abilities are exempt from this, but I just worry that it'll get rules lawyery without clarification.
Exactly. That's my stance on it as well.
Yeah.
So for me personally, because I rely on one of those, and Paul does too for his Necron army.
Yeah, mine's always late game, maybe.
Yeah, mine's first turn because it's for assault.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to play it the safe way until it's ruled, because I don't really want to get into a rules lawyer argument with every single person that I play.
But you know what was a really cool way to regulate deep striking?
What?
Scatter dice.
Or reserve rules.
Yep. Scatter dice really did it.
Don't do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You guys are just solving a problem again.
I actually, in narrative games, they use the reserve rule, right? And I really, really like that. The first turn deep strike was really, really cool when 8th dropped. You don't like this beer either?
Nope.
Too spicy?
It's not that it's too spicy. I don't like spicy beer.
Okay. And I just think it's too far done. They're not in reserve if they're showing up first turn. That's not the point of a reserve. The point of a reserve is to show up when they're needed.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just think that it is going to be a couple of times you're going to get into arguments.
So there's a lot of implications that come around here. I'd love to dive into what we think about how this is going to affect the game, how it'll affect list construction, how it'll affect kind of what we see showing up at events and stuff, and how it changes tactics.
I think it makes gun lines they can be even bolder on first turn.
Yeah, definitely, because they don't have to worry about
you don't have to protect your
assaults.
back line.
So do you think I like the way you phrased it in a chat earlier this week. I don't know if you remember this, but you said something like it'll make these type of armies that rely on deep strike need to be able to take a punch.
Yeah.
Right? Especially on the first turn.
Yeah, but were those armies overpowered?
So that's the issue. Yeah, they've kind of backed themselves they've created a problem for themselves that I feel like they didn't need to create.
Yeah. Who's this regulating?
Yeah, totally. What's the overpowered units that are a big problem?
And I don't what can you think of off the top of your head that was a top problem that was deep strike shooty?
Yeah, so some of the big players are Obliterators and Guardian Bombs.
Yeah.
Right, so 20-man units of Guardians with 2 heavy weapons in them. That's a major player at events. I mean, none of them are I don't think they're winning first place at some of these events, but they are showing up a lot. I mean, yeah, crisis seats aren't an issue. Like,
No, yeah.
yeah,
I just don't see why this was needed. I kind of like it.
I've got no strong feelings towards it
Yeah.
because I don't know like what problem it's fixing.
Again, you already said it's just making it so that a castle gun line is now that much stronger. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't affect the top tier lists, but that's a problem, right? Because if you've got 80% of people at a tournament playing like these castle gun line lists, then how do you crack that?
A stronger gun line.
Yeah, and that's not fun.
And are they? Are they though? Is that
No,
what we
I'm
see?
saying that's what maybe. I have no idea why this was necessary.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, their heart behind this FAQ in general is not to make the dumb, overpowered lists better. You know, like they've showed their intention on that.
Yeah.
But that's not what it is. So you do kind of wonder what the intention is. And so my guess is, is that they want to draw out the game a little more, right? They don't want this to be a turn one decided game.
Yep.
Which I think is a good intention. I don't know if this is the right solution yet.
I'd like to tell you, after playing Eldar don't need to deep strike to be across the board and in your face turn one.
Yeah, and like that's
Yeah.
the thing. All the things that are like in my face turn one, most of them didn't arrive via deep strike. They just like deployed right on the line.
Yeah, Gene Siddler's moving 20 inches and then charging you.
So can I back it up for a
Yeah,
bit for
yeah.
for a weird sort of rule? We didn't dig into this rule enough, and I just realized that now we have to do on the spot math because they've changed the rule for setting up units in reserve. So before it was fully half of your
So
units.
it's still related to the same thing.
Still was related to the
Yeah,
same thing.
yeah.
So you had to set up half your units on the table. All units. You count if you have 8. Let's say you have 10 different characters inside one transport. That still counts as 9 drops.
Yeah, you would do it by drops.
No, you don't do it by drops.
That's what you used to
By
do.
No, you
units.
never did it by
Never
drops.
did it by drops.
What?
It was by units.
But you,
unit.
sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, you confused yourself. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We forgive you.
So now it's the same, but the combined power level rating of all units you set up on the battlefield during deployment must be half of your total power level.
Yeah, so how do we think about changing it that way?
I just think it's tedious. I mean, if you're a tournament player, you know what you're going to put in reserve.
So you're fine.
Turn one, you're fine. But if you're just a normal guy who likes to play in casual events, and you're at an event or a tournament, and now you're busting out the calculator, being like,
Yeah, it certainly doesn't speed anything up, but it is a more exact way to get this done. So you can't, your conscripts aren't really going to do a lot for your reserves. So again,
well, that's a good way of looking at it. Yeah,
yeah, or like your
Oh, yeah.
cultists aren't going to be helping you out for reserves.
you can't just put all your cultists on the table and then have everything else scary in reserve.
Yeah, like it.
That makes sense. I didn't look at it that way.
It's an attempt at balance. So I got no problems with it. I just, again, who was this changed for? Basically, like deep striking plasma scions, like are eating crap, and then the rest of the guard is doing fine.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's probably like if you want to move towards a true balance, this is a step towards a true balance. But yeah, is it overly complicated? I don't know. I agree that maybe it's a little bit too overly complicated.
I don't know. Honestly, the whole rule itself is going to be changed a lot before it becomes a legit rule.
Yeah.
This is beta. Remember,
Yeah.
this is beta. We're going to use it for the Hog Tanner because I think, which we'll something that we're going to touch on later. Using these beta rules in a bigger event, and as we play our games going forward over the next couple months, really provide that feedback to Games Workshop.
Yeah.
We got a big club. We got 100 people playing a lot of games. So if you're part of the Hogtown 40K crew and you're playing with the beta rules, I encourage you to play with the beta rules and send any feedback you have, politely, good-intentioned feedback, not go into a store and beat up a Games Workshop manager because you bought 9 Flying Hive Tyrants the week before. don't do that. I will excommunicate you from the club.
Did
It
that
is
happen?
within my power.
I don't think it did.
It did.
He's also claiming that he has power to excommunicate people unilaterally, which I think we all have to disagree with, right?
If you assault somebody over the hobby,
Yeah.
our
But
membership
Then you're
revoked.
then you're in jail and you
Yeah.
just can't come play games.
But no,
anyway.
but seriously, back to my original point. That was a joke. Email they have an email set up for feedback on this.
aren't jokes supposed to be funny?
Great.
Yeah.
We so here's an interesting dynamic to this, and we are spending a lot of time on this, but I think it's a very important.
It's a huge change.
It's a huge change.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's a game mechanic change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I think this is going to make more interesting is that kind of board control battle on turn one. So it's no longer necessarily becomes about like alpha striking the center of their army. And I think there's going to be a lot more skirmish in the midfield, like trying to create drop zones if you want to run that kind of tactic. Push units out. Do you use units to control the table that are like 10 cultists that are easily destroyed? Because on when in a game that's designed around a turn one drop, like you get exponential effectiveness out of a cheap unit that can control a big area,
Oh yeah.
right?
But
if it's a turn two drop, that unit has to survive turn one now,
Yes.
right?
But the thing is, these shooty armies, this gun line that, hypothetical one that we keep talking about, that has a full turn at full effectiveness, shooting at whatever's not deep striking. So they're not really they're just encouraging you not to deep strike at all.
My kind of point to that, and because my army relies on 30 orc boys using the jump, 30 commandos, and war buggies, is I'm going to hide all my shit turn one.
Yeah, so,
I'm going to put everything out of line of sight. I'm going to reduce the effectiveness of whatever gunline army that is.
so turn one sucks.
That's fine.
So this is what we
Yeah.
have a really boring turn one.
Yeah.
Then you move up, and if you mess up one thing, that gun line's still there, and you're gone. So basically, the game's won in turn 2 and 3, as opposed to 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a question of what do we want our game to look like, right? And do we want to have really alpha strikey type mentality in our list construction, or do we want to have a more two army gun lines going at each other? What do you want to see in your games? Who knows?
But the thing is, you're like the shooty alpha strike of like if anything's out in the open, it's gone. That still exists.
Yeah.
You're just making that much more powerful.
So what kind of armies are like that?
Connors.
Say you have an issue with.
Connor's
He's
army.
thinking of Connor's army.
No, like
Eldar Dark Reaper castles.
yeah,
That's huge.
Any like
Gilliman gunlines.
yeah,
Yeah.
any
They upped his points. Not enough.
Guard.
yeah. Again, I would have answered this if you
Yeah.
guys didn't kind of
So-
step on my toes with every answer I was going to say just then.
Sorry, Mo. Slow.
He so he has a good point. A big question for me is like, are we designing a game for 8 people, the top 8 at LVO, or are we designing a game for like all of us,
Yeah,
right?
you're making the middle tables.
And so first off, the top 4 were, so the big one's probably the Dark Reaper Castle, because we didn't see any Imperial Guard gun lines in the top 8, right?
No.
So that's like, I don't know what the issue is.
It's
I
not
haven't played him, so I don't understand the issue that maybe you have.
It's not the top 8 that you're regulating, though. You're regulating the top half of the middle. That is what's always going to be the problem.
Yeah, I agree. We shouldn't make a game for just the top.
Because I got a feeling that the top half of the middle tables is very homogenous. Like I'm getting the sense that
got a feeling.
that you see a lot of the same.
Yeah, you do.
So that's what you're trying to do. But what have you changed here?
I agree with you.
And like, if anyone has an idea,
I mean, I was going to say it's not really our job to talk about, to like criticize it, but yes, that's exactly our job because we're on a podcast. No, like I said, it's a beta rule.
Mm-hmm.
I say we go with it, we provide the feedback, and we'll see what the legit rule is in September.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, let's get some first-hand experience dealing with this.
But I do 100% agree with you, and it is weird, and yes, it does favor shooter armies, and my main goal is still to, one, play every single faction by the end of the year, and two, design a kick-ass assault orc army. So that's my plan.
Well,
I mean, hey, so Paul, if there were more buildings like that on your gaming table, would it help prevent the gunline issue for you?
Don't ask me
Like
about
in the middle of the board.
Don't ask
In
me
the
about
middle.
site blocking terrain.
no, it's like my problem with those type of buildings, large line of sight blocking terrain, is that it's binomial. It's either the unit is safe and it cannot be killed, or it is out in the open and it is dead. So there's no like, I'm going to position this so they're more resilient so they can take fire. It's like, I'm hiding them. They're hidden. So my tough units don't ever have to like deal with being shot. Like, it's just, that's my problem.
Yeah, you want a more 7th edition cover mechanic.
I do.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's one thing that is a bit of a letdown, and I think is a huge issue for defending against those turn 1 gun lines. Because I mean, it was always nice like having guardsmen or cultists in a ruin and getting a 4-up cover save.
Yeah.
Right, and it makes sense. But anyways, we're getting into wish listing now.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no. It's also a little bit avoiding the question. Like, I don't care about your issue with line of sight blocking terrain. But if there is more of that, would it fix the issue?
Well, now you're just like, we're finding ways to make armies play worse, and that's not like, is that what we want to be doing?
No, I'm not saying that the army has to play worse, but like, if we had better terrain that was geared towards the way 8th edition was written as it is, plus this rule, would that help the problem?
I think so. My favorite table to play on is honestly the desert rocks and the industrial GameMat.eu stuff. Those two mixed together, like the one we played on for the Beer Hammer game.
Yeah.
Tons of line of sight blocking terrain, not too crazy. You can still move. There's still mobility. You can fit a Land Raider through all the holes, but you still have to. You can't just sit in a castle and shoot everything on the board.
Yeah, like your often cited rule where it's like, I want something where you can hide a knight. I think that's too big.
Yeah,
like that's
a Land Raider.
Yeah, and even then, it should be hard to hide a Land Raider.
Yep.
But anyways, that's enough about that.
Okay,
cool.
So moving on to the next rule. Now this is something I think we all take particular pride in for our Hogtown comp that we're using for the Hogtowner, which is July 28th and 29th at the Polish Combatants Hall. Go to facebook.com/the Hogtowner. I don't know if that'll show up. Just search the Hogtowner in Facebook. Don't search it in Google because apparently some weird sort of hat comes up. I'm not kidding. So, while they look at Tinder, Battle Brothers is a new rule. So, all units in each detachment in your Battle-Forged army must have at least one faction keyword in common. This keyword cannot be Chaos, Imperium, Eldari, Yunari, or Tyranids.
Woo!
Yep.
Remember when we did that with the Hogtown comp, babies?
So we went a little bit further in saying your entire army has to share one keyword. So this is taking a step back, but it's very much in the same sort of direction. So you can't have Celestine leading an army of Guard or Space Marines, and you can't have Gilliman leading an army of Sisters of Battle.
There's no Magtarian lists anymore.
No Magtarian
Well, you
lists.
can do them in different factions.
You can
in detachments.
Yeah.
But
So there are qualifiers for this. I'm not going to go into all of them, but things like Sisters of Silence, Inquisitors, Assassins, Legion of the Damned, and I think some Xenos
shenanigans.
They allow you
get
to
around
fit them
this.
in.
Yeah. So if you're like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to use this unit, you probably are. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Read the FAQ. It's in there. It's a whole page of erratas. I really like this, and again, like I said, it really goes to kudos to GW for making this rule to push games to more armies that you would see in the setting and less armies that are just a collection of the best units from each faction.
Yep. Yeah, like, I don't think we need to belabor this because we have addressed this kind of idea with our Hogtown comp discussion. With every time we run an event, we talk about this. This is just meant to make you get the most out of the books that you're using, as opposed to the most out of every book all at once.
Yeah. And I always harp on Adam for saying that 30K is more complicated than 40K, but you got to admit, with the amount of books that you need to run an army nowadays in 40K,
if you do a soup list,
it's getting kind of balanced out.
So basically, they made the Imperial soup a little bit more chunky with this.
Yeah, you have to have a full detachment, and as we'll get to later, there are there were always suggested limits on detachment, but they've made it a strong suggestion that there are limits on detachments.
So let's keep going, baby.
So you keep going. I'm going to take a bio break.
Should I make my little comment about kind of how this aligns with our DNA?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so the big victory here that I want to celebrate is that, like, so in no way did GW come to Hogtown and be like, hey, what do you guys think about how we should comp games?
I feel like I remember a conversation like that, though.
But having said that, like, we did this a while ago, and intentionally to fix this type of a problem. And so clearly there is this thing called the spirit of the game that Hogtown has latched onto, and that GW is pushing in that direction. And so it's something that I think we can in particular be proud of, that we have a similar DNA, like in who we are as a club. It aligns in the value that Games Workshop has towards how they want their game to be played. And I'm really proud that we've latched onto that.
Yeah, and I think, like, not as a counterpoint to that, but as an addendum, they also say, like, hey, you should play this game the way you like to.
Yeah, and they
like,
still need freedom for that with open play and whatever.
Yeah, so they're not curtailing anything, but this is it makes a lot of sense for events to do this, because it just kind of sucks to play like a completely unfluffy nonsense list.
Yeah.
Like, it's not as fun as it could be. And I think they kind of get that people having fun are more likely to stay in the hobby.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
totally.
that's just good business.
What I think if this is a good image or not, this kind of just came to me, is it's kind of like if you're playing. I never played a lot of these games, but let's say a fighter game where you had to, like, press the buttons in the right order at the right time to pull off the big combo.
Mm-hmm.
Not having this rule is like playing Street Fighter and just pressing one button to get the elite combo. Whereas, like, this is putting back some restrictions on and saying, no, you actually have to press the right buttons in the right order and actually work to get your good combo.
Yeah.
As opposed to just take whatever you want whenever you want it.
Yeah.
You know? So press that one button for that easy combo.
So you couldn't take the command point battery for Imperial Guard, right? Because that was a huge thing, right? Take 3 squads of of conscripts for super cheap, or guardsmen are actually cheaper, I think, because you get they're 45 points for 10. I think the minimum squad of conscript is 20 for 4. And then your 2 most powerful HQ units in the Imperium keyword.
Yeah.
And that is now, you're getting 3 command points and 2 super powerful HQ units.
Yeah.
And that was a huge thing. People were doing that a lot. So I like this change because the Imperial Guard aren't going to show up unless they're being led by an officer.
Mm-hmm.
Space Marines aren't going to be showing up unless they're in some sort of battle order.
Yep.
Totally.
Makes sense to me?
Should we move on? Because I don't think there's a whole lot to discuss with that one, other than we're smart, like GW is smart.
I like it. Next one is big changes to command points. And I'm always down for more command points because I get more opportunities to shoot twice with my Noise Marines or my Havocs. I am a happy man.
Sure.
So battalion detachments now give you +5 command points. So you're getting 8 command points for having 1 battalion in your army.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about this.
Me too, because you know who can fill out a battalion real
I know.
quick? The Guard. You know who can fill out 2 battalions in 2,000 points, usually pretty easily? The Guard.
You know what would be a good fix for this? Is our Hogtowner comp, no double detachments.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. And brigade detachments give you +12. So that's a lot.
Yeah.
So
Well,
if you watch the live, this is my issue with this one. In one, I like the intent behind wanting to change this, but I do have some issues with it. And Paul, you've kind of hinted at it already. But if you watch the live thing, their explanation was for more elite armies that had trouble making detachments, battalions specifically and brigades. This will incentivize them to want to do that more, so they can actually use more stratagems.
Yeah.
And I say, okay, like that's a good intent, right? Like the heart there is good, but you're right. You've hinted on the fact that like the armies that can do this easier, it only incentivizes them more to do those dumb things.
You're
like
gonna have
min-max.
You're gonna have guard with 18, 20 command points, getting them back on 5s.
Yeah, like this fixed nothing for me.
Totally.
Like this just changed this just put more money in everyone's pocket. Or if you were running a very elite army anyways and you weren't using a battalion or a brigade, you're left behind.
Yep.
So this is
We'll put some money into everybody's pocket and more money into certain people's pockets.
yes.
The rich get richer.
Yep.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening. Oh
But
my
in
god,
command
that's why
points.
I'm mad. But yeah, I think this is a cool idea and it'll benefit lots of people.
Yeah.
But
And that's why I think it's important to point out that their intent was to fix more elite armies, but they just didn't get it right on this.
But maybe it kind of did in a way where now you're going to have armies like Custodes having the opportunity to use more of their stratagems, whereas Guard would be able to use the additional number of stratagems, right? Like, you're not giving Custodes more and Guard less, you're giving both more.
I mean, maybe it...
right.
Because I don't think of it as a zero-sum game, right? Just because the Imperial Guard are getting more and Custodes are getting a little bit more doesn't mean Custodes are getting less. You, as a Custodes player, are still going to have more opportunities to use your stratagems.
That's true.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're getting punked because your opponent doesn't have to spend wisely and can just be like, yeah, I'll just bring this.
But that's exactly the way it is now.
Exactly. So you've not changed anything.
But now
You
you're
just
giving...
exponentialize that issue. Maybe the Custodes player can use one more stratagem.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, you've just exponentialized the issue. So,
Sorry I'm taking the role of the optimist in this podcast. It's usually not my role. But...
Hey, man.
I'm with you on that. Yeah, I actually think we have a good dynamic
Yeah.
on this, because Paul seems to be overly pessimistic about this. You're loving it.
It's true. Paul's sighing hard over there.
Well, it's just, again, this is like FAQ. Enjoy your new guard army.
Can you take 10 deep breaths?
No, I can't.
And what's the guard? Do you mean the Astra Militarum?
No,
Oh, you
you're in
did
the
it.
guard, son.
He did it.
Oh, man.
I thought he was going to hit me with the beer can.
So I'm cracking open a Across the Pond ESP Extra Special Ale. English Special Ale. It's by High Park. They're just down the street, not too far away. It's nice. It's ambery. It's got none of these added flavors that these guys have been going on about all night. This is a beer that tastes like a beer.
No, it's got some caramel notes.
Yeah, like beer does.
So the last thing I want to touch on this page is really the only last thing on this page that actually affects all armies. And that's that abilities that ignore wounds, disgusting resilient, a Contemptor Dreadnought, sorry, not Contemptor Dreadnought.
A Relic Dreadnought.
No. A Venerable Dreadnought.
Right, sorry, that's what I meant.
Iron Hands, any unit that's like, oh, so if you take a wound on a 6 or a 5 up, it's ignored. You can't stack those. So before, if let's say, for example, you had a Iron Hands Venerable Dreadnought, you were ignoring damage on 6s, and then any additional damage that was left over, you got to roll again, and any other 6s got that. They don't stack anymore. You get one roll, pick your best one, and go for it. Kind of like Feel No Pain was, right? You don't... Excuse me.
No, because Feel No Pain could be augmented, but it's stacking.
Yeah, there were some times where you could have like 6 up Feel No Pain and a 5 up Feel No Pain that didn't stack.
Right.
So this is...
I honestly do not know why they ever ruled that you could use all of them.
No, it slows down the game.
And it seemed crazy.
Yep. And then, again, speaking to the way that we look at events and tournaments, the suggested way for organized play to build an army. So they call it the rule of 3, which doesn't make any sense. So basically, they've kept the suggested number of detachments per points the same. So up to 1,000 points, you should have 2 detachments, 1,000 to 2,000, 3 detachments, 2,001 to 3,000, 4 detachments. Great. I always liked that. I couldn't stand when people were bringing like 5 or 6 detachments to a game.
Yeah.
Didn't understand it.
I understand it.
Yeah. We like to do the 3 detachment, and we like to not double detachments. One of the cool things they've added is you can only have the same data sheet 3 times, unless it's a dedicated transport or troops. So you can't have 4 squads of Dark Reapers, you can't have 4 squads of Storm Boys, you can't have 4 Land Raiders, unless they're dedicated transports. I don't think they are.
They're not.
Yeah.
And I think this is an excellent change. It'll stop a lot of HQ spam. It'll stop a lot of just boring lists that you see, like your 5 Dark Talons. Like that's a boring list. That's stupid to collect.
Yeah, and to be fair, these aren't beta rules and these aren't actual rules. These are just suggested ways for people to run organized play events.
I like the framer on that. You know, again, I know Paul, you have an issue with telling people what to do with their life, and so they're not necessarily doing that. They're just kind of like just giving you a little jab in the side and say, hey.
I think no one's making you play 40K. All right, so that's what I would have a problem with. If they were like, you have to play 40K, that would mess me up. But if it's like, here are the rules for when you decide to play 40K, that's okay. Also, this doesn't affect Guard in the least. Dude, you can still fit 12 Lehman Russes in a list. Like,
you can. 9.
And then you tank commander.
And then 3 tank commanders. Oh, God.
So it's like, okay. Again, the Guard don't care this time around.
Yeah, and so the reason it's still 9 is because they come in squadrons.
Yes.
Right.
Right? And so, and a squadron of 3 is 1 data sheet. Which, in the reverse problem, this is funny because this came up in our Twitch chat before we started recording, was what about Tau drones?
I don't know what I don't know what the question is on that.
Because even if it's a unit upgrade, it's still a data sheet that you're now adding to your army, because it's a separate data sheet from the thing. The profile for it is not built into the data sheet of the thing you're buying the upgrade for.
Right. Honestly, rules as written, you can only have 3. Rules as intended, I think that drones will probably be an exception to this.
Yeah, which is sad that they kind of. I guess with a sweeping overall change like this, there will exceptions need to be made. It's just it's unfortunate they didn't catch some of those. I mean, it's the only one I can really think of, and I didn't even think of it.
Yeah, and this is GW. They're not. We've said before they need to hire editors. They have rules writers, but they don't have it doesn't seem like they have a publication editing team that's like, hey, you on this page you reference page X, but there's nothing there. They don't. Their publications, I think, need that.
See, they should just not have publications, and it should all be a living document.
Well, that's just insane. You're hurting my brain. You're taking money out of my mouth. Yeah.
No, that's...
So, I think overall, I welcome this. And
yeah, I think it is a good change, despite being able to be, ignored by the Guard, which I know is my...
Getting old.
Yeah, it really is, and it's only been a day.
Yeah, and you know what? If a Guard army wins LVO coming up, then you know what? Maybe I'll say, okay, Paul, you were right. I still don't necessarily foresee it happening. But.
Here's the thing, though, and it goes back to your point about who are we regulating. I don't care about who wins LVO, because the person who's going to win LVO is going to be an excellent gamer, and they're going to be able to figure out the best way to play no matter what the restrictions are. I worry about some idiot who wants to make other players' lives miserable with their list.
Yeah.
That's always my concern when I see these things. Is what if somebody wanted to make a list to like really mess with people, to not just like win the game, but also to just be like, you're fine, you win, goodbye. People do that a lot, and I like minimizing. I like seeing the opportunity for abuse minimized, and I'm just not seeing it 100%.
Yeah.
For guard specifically.
No.
Well, yeah, guard and a couple other things as well. But Paul's right. If the next event or next game day that we have, and you see 100 unpainted guardsmen on the table, we'll know why.
Yeah. But honestly, they're not the problem.
No.
I'm just saying that like this doesn't. These broad sweeping changes aren't as broad and sweeping as we think.
No.
Yeah, and I think it's good of them to walk towards these things slowly, so they can continue to learn from each time they make a change.
Yeah, I think the entire studio is like, so we really screwed the pooch on launching Age of Sigmar. Like, that game should be doing way better than it is, and it's already doing very well.
Yeah, they didn't do a good job of making fantasy players love.
No, but
Their
at the same
gaming.
time, how much were fantasy players buying? Get out of here.
All right.
Your 40-year-old army.
So interesting. They included some points changes in the FAQ, which is not an FAQ. It's a points change.
Mm-hmm.
Big ones. Robert Gilliman is now 400 points.
So he got a 15-point bump.
So he is somehow 50 points less than a Fire Raptor. Because a Fire Raptor got a 90-point bump. Which makes absolutely no sense to me, because in terms of pure synergy, damage output, and effectiveness, Robot Gilliman is 2 Fire Raptors worth.
Dude, I told you the Fire Raptor issue. It's how many... They saw those, 3 Fire Raptor lists, and then Forge World did the math on how many Fire Raptors they actually sold, and they were like, oof.
Toronto Warhammer players are the worst, man.
We're the worst.
What else is in here? Oh, Hive Tyrant's got a slight bump, and Slime Marbro has points. Oh, Dark Reapers are now 5 points more expensive per model.
Not nearly enough, but...
No,
It's a good step.
They are now 34 points.
You can't walk towards these things too aggressively.
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. What's the math on a Space Marine with a missile launcher?
38 points.
38 points.
And it's funny that they upgraded the Dark Reaper and not the weapon.
Yeah.
Because it's the weapon that ignores line of sight, isn't it?
No, only one model in the unit can have that. It's the
Okay.
Dark Reapers that always hit on 3s, no
Right.
matter what.
No matter what. So it is the unit that
It
has
is the
that.
unit. Because the Reaper launcher is just a flat 3 missile launcher.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, I know. At least it's not guard this time.
true.
So yeah, interesting. And I remember watching them do this live, and I thought they were kidding at first when they were like, "We only made a small points increase, just a little one, not too much." And I was like, "Oh, so they totally nerfed Dark Reapers, and everyone's gonna be really happy?"
Nope.
It's like, no, they actually made just a tiny little increase.
Yeah. And the thing, too, is that the changes to having 3 of one data sheet doesn't affect them, because they work best in squads of 10, because then you can use psychic powers and stratagems on them. Right? So it's like, oh, don't worry, you can only have 3 squads. Well, now I have 30.
I mean, people only took 3 squads anyways. They took a squad of 9 and a couple of units of 3.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So just interesting. I've played against them once, and I never want to do it again. It was just too much.
But now that unit of 10 costs 50 more points.
Yes. And which could blow up 2 Fire Raptors in 1 round of shooting.
50 points well spent, I suppose.
Yep.
Which also costs 50 more points.
90 more points.
Or 90.
Yeah.
There you go.
But that's 2 Fire.
Right.
Yeah.
180 to
Yep.
or 190 to 280 or something.
So it wasn't just this one document. They added new FAQs for all of the codexes, all of the indexes, and the big rulebook. So I think we're just going to talk about a few in the big rulebook, some of our favorites, some of the most wacky ones, and some of the questions. Why did anyone have to ask this question, and why did you answer this question the way you did? For an example, I'm going to start with this one, which we talked about earlier. Question. 2 enemy infantry units are within 1 inch of each other and in the same piece of terrain. Do they both receive the benefit of cover against shooting attacks made with pistols by the other unit? The answer is yes. This is whack on 2 levels. First of all, not all terrain provides cover.
Not win at all costs whack.
No.
It's just wacky.
Just wacky whack.
Yeah.
A lot of terrain doesn't provide cover. We've been over this. Hills are terrain. They don't provide cover. Now you're saying they get the benefit of cover. What?
Yeah. Who
Well,
knows?
whatever benefit hills give.
Do they both receive the benefit of cover against shooting attacks? That's the question, and the answer is yes.
Yeah, so whatever benefit of cover they get for being on a hill, that's what they would get.
Yeah.
That's not what it says. It says, do they both receive the benefit of cover against shooting attacks made by pistols?
Well, I mean,
Not the benefit of...
a newspaper is not a very good umbrella, but you're getting the benefit of the newspaper's water repellent abilities.
Yeah, but you're doing... I think you're just reading into what you want.
Because
now.
+1 armor save, is that specifically called something called benefit of cover?
I think so. I think it's called a cover save. I don't know.
It's not called a cover
I
save.
think it's whack.
No.
Also, we're fighting,
Yeah,
and now you're taking cover behind that rock on the ground.
sure. Or maybe we're in an office building and I threw a filing cabinet at you while you were trying to shoot me. Who knows? Forge
So,
that narrative.
Obviously, the intention of the question is if they're in ruins, right? They're
Yeah.
getting +1
Yes.
save.
Yeah.
Or a unit is on one side of a barricade and the other unit's on the other side of the barricade. They're both touching it. They're both in combat and engaged with each other.
Yep.
I like this.
Yeah.
They also clarified that like aura abilities don't affect open-topped transports. I think that's a handy one.
Yep.
And just for clarity, models inside of transports count as moving if the transport moved. Like, it's common sense stuff, but
Like, it was obvious if you played 7th, but if you were picking up 8th, you wouldn't know that.
right. Like these books are often written as though you've known the game, and I think that's sometimes a mistake.
So one interesting thing here, 2 interesting things here that kind of go off each other, which just makes terrain terrible. When a unit that can fly declares a charge move against a unit that is on the upper levels of ruin, do I need to include the vertical distance while making the charge move? No, you don't. But a unit that can fly ignores vertical distances while making a charge move, but you still must be within 12 inches directly base to base diagonally to be able to declare the charge in the first place. Diagonally.
Mm-hmm. What's wrong with that?
So you need to be within 12 inches diagonally, but you ignore the diagonal distance.
You ignore the vertical distance, right? So for example, if I am...
Do I have to do trigonometry
Yeah.
for every charge?
So if I'm 5 inches away from the base of a building,
Mm-hmm.
and the unit is 10 inches up,
It's a very tall building.
10 inches is not that tall. It's only about that tall. There's tons of ruins like that out there.
Oh, you're saying you measure it purely horizontally for your charge range, but
Yep.
you measure... They have to be within 12 diagonally to declare the charge.
Yes.
I like that. You don't have to do you don't have to do trigonometry.
Yeah, you do.
No.
You measure it, but again...
Yeah, you just measure a horizontal. So you take a top down, you get your 5 inches.
Yep.
But then you go, is it actually 12 inches away?
But diagonally it makes the distance way longer. It's 5 squared plus 10 squared unsquared, right?
The root. Yeah.
Yeah.
Depends how tall the vertical is, which is undefined currently. We know we shouldn't do math on the podcast.
So this interacts with another rule that just makes you, again, I can just see people doing shitty things with this rule, and again, want to minimize the opportunity for abuse. So this kind of just
So here's
grinds
the
my
question.
gears.
Here's the question: will a flying unit ever charge a unit on an upper level ever again? Anyways,
Nope.
Nick, why don't you tell us why?
So if a unit declares a charge against an enemy unit that is entirely on the upper level of a terrain feature, such as a ruin, sector mechanicus structure, etc., not just a ruin, a terrain feature, but it cannot physically end its charge move within 1 inch of any models because there's not enough room or because the charging unit is unable to, because it's expanded terrain rules, whatever, does that charge fail? Yes. So before, this rule was in the big rule book, and it said use wobbly model.
Yeah,
So
he's
even if
standing on the edge,
even if some of your base is hanging off the edge of the ruin, you can't go up there
Wait, it's not if your base is hanging
if
off.
you can't fit. If you are the base. If you can't fit on the top ruin,
No, wobbly model is for when a base won't stay. If you can fit and you're hanging off, you're still good.
not according to this rule.
According to that rule.
It says you can't fit.
But
If you have your base off the side of the table, are you off the table? Yes.
Yes.
yeah, because
you're not
that's
fitting on the table.
That's the border of the thing, of the game mat.
But if there's not enough charge room to place the charging unit, how do you? What's the charge? If there's 1 millimeter, and you can put your model there, are you saying it fits there?
If it doesn't balance, no, because it doesn't fit.
So now we're going into balance.
Dude, if it fits,
No,
it sits.
That's
so
ridiculous.
You carry a pocket full of fishing line weights, and like if your model, you get it on the millimeter, and he's holding out a sword like this, and then you hang the fishing weights off the end.
on a,
just so he
on a
can
model balancing, because what happens if you've got a pewter arm and the rest of your model's plastic? Now he's going to tip over and he's never going to balance in that instance.
You turn them like it's not as prohibitive as I think everyone thinks, because it's not like they're unchargeable.
No,
but
but
it's difficult.
Yeah.
But if that unit you're trying to charge has filled up the entire space, you were never able to charge them anyways.
I mean, if you're a Space Marine captain and there's a bunch of conscripts up there, you are walking up that ladder. You don't care how many times they hit you in the head with the butt of their last rifle.
Yep.
Like you're killing 5 guys at a time with the swipe of a sword. You know.
I mean, I do think that the second floor of ruins are the stupidest thing that's happened in 8th edition. Just because, like, can a monstrous creature go up there? No. Can artillery go there? Of course not. Like, can... That's dumb. It is dumb.
It is dumb.
But I'm saying it's not as bad as
So
we think.
again,
but it's
back
still-
to how do you judge if a model can fit?
I think if it goes... If you can place it and it stays.
So basically, you're never getting up there ever again.
Yeah.
Because the smart player just won't let you.
Yeah.
They won't let it fit ever.
Yeah.
Right.
But
that's
There's
the
also
thing.
there's weird interactions because now my orc boys on 25 millimeter bases will be able to make charges that Terminators can't,
Yeah. You're
Or-
modeling for advantage now.
or orc knobs can't. Yeah.
You're not modeling for advantage. It's just
He just said he was.
natural advantage.
No, orc boys are always on 25 millimeters.
Sure, you can fit more in. I'm not saying that this is a good rule change. I think the second floor ruins
Yep.
are bad for the game right now. But
That only infantry can go up there.
yeah,
You don't like that?
I don't.
Okay.
No, because vehicles, yes. Bikes, yeah, no, absolutely not. Bikes don't drive upstairs and up ladders. But
You tell the White Scars that.
monsters, cavalry, they should definitely be able
We
to do
watched
that.
it happen. Was it Saving Private Ryan?
It was definitely not Saving
Which-
Private Ryan. It
no.
was probably Captain America.
Cavalry, it's hard to get a horses downstairs.
Yeah. So next one. Next one I want to talk about is the changes to things like warp time, the quickening, and the Tyranid Swarmlord ability. So can a unit that arrived from reserve use an ability to move further later in the turn? And the answer is no, it cannot. So one of the things I did when 8th edition dropped with Chaos was bring a squad of Terminators and a Sorcerer down and warp time the Terminators forward directly in that. I also did that with Dreadnoughts as well. So that's out. Again, who does that hurt? Assault armies? Sure.
You know who it's good for, though?
Shooting armies.
That's right.
The Guard?
I was going to say tap. Like, that one, I sort of get why they did it. Because they're saying, like, oh, you're getting around the disadvantage of, like, redeployments and deep striking. But at the same time, like, what are those abilities for, if not that kind of stuff?
Exactly. Right?
So, I don't dislike it. I just think it is. We've seen this FAQ be prohibitively punitive to assault armies.
Yep. Very odd. One thing they did clear up was that a unit that has fly ignores intervening models during the charge phase. Because that was a question, because people are dumb.
Well, no, I can see how that confusion would arise, because in earlier editions you could use your jump pack either in charge or in movement.
Yeah.
So, like, I can kind of...
I think your computer went to sleep. It's okay. We're still recording.
Yep, we're still recording.
Okay. So, for missions, when measuring distances to or from an objective marker, do you measure diagonally, i.e. counting both vertical and horizontal distance? Yes. That is not what diagonally is. When you're diagonal, you're not counting vertical and horizontal distances, you're counting diagonal distances. Ugh. All right.
And
Sorry, what do you got?
Oh, let's move into a couple of faction specific ones, and then rock it on.
Yep. So, first faction specific one that shows up is Space Marines.
Space Marines, the only one that I really want to highlight is the fact that Auspex scan stratagem can now be used for units that arrive by things like the jump or the what do you call it? The Veil of Darkness. Yep. I think that's a great one. Because I think that's how most people were playing it, but it's just nice to have that fact.
Yeah, oh, definitely. That makes sense to me. Adam's lost his phone, so it's all on me now.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just scrolling through. I got a bunch of good stuff for Chaos.
All right.
Yeah, I don't think there wasn't anything for Sisters, which is the army I play, and then for Space Marines, it's kind of like nothing game-changing. Anyways.
Leviathans can now take 3 hunter-killer missiles. That's kind of funny.
So, yeah, how did that even come up?
So, the model comes with 3 missiles in 30k that you can equip.
The Phosphex launcher?
Right, but it has no rules, and they don't want to make mechanics for Phosphex in 40k, so they were like...
Good.
Oh, get out of here.
Phosphex is the worst.
I mean, it is pretty mean. But yeah, so I was just like, that's fine. So yeah, it's just a piece of war gear that comes in the kit, and now they're kind of like, you can use it.
Yeah. I mean, that's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
Because the Phosphex launcher was really good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I killed a whole unit of blast cannons with an apothecary inside of on the top floor of what is it called? The Imperial Bastion.
I don't know why it's AP2.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be AP2.
Like, so good. With poison.
Get out of here. Just stop.
It doesn't need to be AP2.
Paul's like, let me have it, man.
Yeah.
Let me have it.
You can have AP3. AP2 is just too powerful.
It's only one use, bro.
Too powerful.
Yeah.
It's only one use.
So,
Feel no pain, cacophony.
Chaos Space Marines, or actually it says Codex Chaos Space Marines, even though it's the Heretic Astartes. Good work, Games Workshop.
Love it.
Hire an editor.
So, Tide of Traitors, the one where you could delete a unit of cultists and redeploy them at full strength, is now once per battle. Because that was super powerful for 2 command points.
Yeah, to bring back what, 60 points?
Yeah.
Who cares, right?
That was weird. And
So
now,
I wonder what was the scenario that was getting abused that made them do that? Because that's a big change.
Yeah.
Do we know like one of the top tier lists that was doing that?
It might have been the Death Guard.
Poxwalker, some like spammy thing.
Yes, but that got fixed in the Death Guard one. I'll spend that in a second. I'll spend that right now. Why not? So the Death Guard have an ability where if the Poxwalkers kill, or they can pop a stratagem, and any models are killed within 7 inches of them, they add models to their unit. So in the new FAQ, if you go above your starting strength, you have to pay reinforcement points for them.
Ooh. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it kind of fixed it already, but that's really the only instance where I'd see, unlimited cultists just being zombie beaters.
Farms. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I'm intentionally taking living things to fight with them and turn them into dead things to fight with them.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we saw the guy who won LVO take that list to Adepticon,
I think so, yeah.
and he didn't he didn't get top 4.
Yeah.
So
Noise Marine changes. If several Noise Marines are slain in the same attack, can they each use their Music of the Apocalypse ability to fire when they die to throw a grenade, or can only one of them do so? Each of them can throw a grenade.
That's silly.
If a Noise Marine is slain in the fight phase, and he uses his Music of the Apocalypse ability to shoot an Imperium unit with a ranged weapon, and subsequently rolls a hit roll of 6+, does the Death of the False Emperor ability then grant him an extra attack with that weapon, even though it's a ranged weapon? Yes.
Dumb.
Why did they? Who screwed that up? Who screwed that up?
This thing just happened to me.
No, these things just happen to him. He would never say that.
Yep.
Oh, he did say it. You're right. No,
that's-
you're right.
That's the mocking voice.
Yep. Yep, so that's hilarious. I love both those changes. Just makes Noise Marines piss Paul off that much
It's
more.
just so needless. Like, it's just like, yeah, sure. Frag, go for it.
Yep.
Basically, if enough people said, hey, so if a unit of Noise Marines dies, can they actually move into my house and marry my wife and then they're me? The FAQ would be like, yes.
Yes.
Like, I just...
you have to wonder, what are they thinking?
I don't know.
What do they think?
It's
Like
whack.
they didn't even bother to read it.
They're like, yeah, Noise Marines, they're good.
They're like, guys, we need some FAQs on Noise Marines because clearly there's something there. So here, let's just say yes.
Yep, we need to... Actually, they're just probably trying to make them hot fire units, so when they release the new kit, they'll sell a bunch of them.
Probably.
But like, I don't understand why they have to totally break the entire rules as they are right now.
Like, the grenade mechanic was fine. Nobody wanted to throw
Grenades
10 frag
anyways.
grenades. Oh, no. It doesn't make sense. And, like, I heard the argument for Death of the False Emperor activating on shooting attacks in the fight phase, because there are attacks that happen in the fight phase.
That I'm actually fine with.
I'm not.
I'm not fine with
It's
that.
dumb.
There's no need to
2 hours ago, you said that's dumb.
I did, and I thought about it. And I reserve the right to revise my opinions. But I think it just clears up. I don't think they want to start making a difference between a shooting attack and a melee attack.
That's a good point.
Like, they want a 2-hit roll, and this...
They want to keep it phase-based.
And range-based,
Right.
right? Because a melee weapon still has a range. It's just range dash, which is within 1 inch.
Yeah, so...
Or an inch of an inch.
It's interesting. And Death of the False Emperor is written out, like, in
Hit
the
rolls.
fight phase. Hit rolls made in the fight phase.
Yeah.
On a hit
So-
roll of 6. And if you have prescience, then it's going off on 4s. And if you have prescience and an icon of excess, it's going off on 4s. Right.
Sorry. 6s, then 5s, then 4s.
Yes. I said 4s twice.
Yeah.
Which would be just hilarious.
So
Just
anyways...
piss Paul off that much more.
But it does piss me off, but I think for the
The continuity of the game, you're right. Yep.
it needs to be like that.
Were there any changes to Necrons, Paul?
Not a one.
Cool.
I don't think they existed long enough to have enough a frequently asked question.
So there's one big change to the Orc rules that are going to make me include a new unit in my army, which I'm excited for, which is the War Boss on a war bike. So before, there's the WOG special rule, where if a War Boss is within 6 inches of an Orc infantry unit, they can advance and charge. Super great. I love moving that advance roll and charging. But it's only for infantry, so it doesn't affect bikes. And now they've changed it so that if you have a war boss on a war bike, he grants Orc infantry and biker units within 6 inches of him the ability to advance and charge. So now you've got Orc war bikes moving 20 and doing a rerollable charge.
I love this.
So
I think...
Definitely going to be including a unit of 6 of them just to shut them down someone's
It's
throats.
only unit of 6. Like, I don't... Like, who cares? You know, do it. Yeah, man, do it.
Yeah, but the thing is,
They're just Orc boys on bikes. They're
Yeah,
not like
they're not
game
that
breaking.
scary.
Yeah.
But what about not bikers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Non bikers are way too expensive.
not now.
Yeah, so there you go.
It's still expensive. But yeah.
Mm,
Take it.
Darn.
I'm not scared of it. It makes Orc armies not all look the same.
Yep.
It's going to create diversity, which is good.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying like it now gets an effective use for an underused unit.
Yes. And then they made a change to the mob rule. Thank God, because Phil tried to pull this on me Sunday night. Because the mob rule says you use the number of models in the unit as their leadership. And I had 2 guys left. And he's like, so your leadership's 2? And I was like, no. And then I read the rule. I'm like, I guess. Then I just spent 2 command points to auto-pass the morale check. But it now says when using the leadership characteristic of this unit, you can use its own leadership or equal to the number of models in the unit or the number of models in another friendly unit within 6 inches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I like that they're taking the time to add that on, because even though you would assume that because they have the mob up rule, that still applies, they do this in a number of cases where they make sure they say it as well. So even though, I know, Paul, you're like, well, they clearly missed that, like, they aren't. They're still trying to be intentional in a lot of cases.
They're doing it. It's just that they're missing this sometimes. So yeah, that's the FAQ pretty well, hey?
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of implications there. I know we're all panicked and a little upset with the Deep Strike rules, but I am definitely looking forward. I'm going to get 2 games in on Saturday. I'm super stoked for it. Whether I play Connor or Paul, it's going to be a blast.
And when you say we, you mean kind of the Warhammer community in general?
Yes. Yeah, and the Hogtown Club in specific, because I mean, we're human beings. I can only conceptualize 300 people being individuals. That's kind of the limit of what humans can think of.
Yeah, it's the Dunbar number, isn't it?
Number. So when I say we, I mean the 300 people that I know that play Warhammer. Just to have an opportunity to play it out and see how it goes. Change is tough. And one of the things that I think is like really tough with 8th edition is the amount of change coming at you rapid fire. Because even with 6th, 7th, and 8th edition, before 8th edition, there was no real changes once the rulebook dropped. It was just like, boom, new rulebook. 2 years, these are the rules, new codexes are coming out. That's fine. Codex came out, what, every 6 months? So you have time to adapt, and now it's rapid fire. Change. People can't deal with that, man. It's a weird thing for people.
It's an awful lot, and I think the thing that weirds a lot of people out is like the Codex comes out, X, Y, or Z. 2 weeks later, an FAQ comes out and sort of changes a few things and tweaks some things, because they're not always using the FAQs to clarify; they're using them as erratas. But anyways, that's a whole different thing.
But I think it's good for the hobby in general.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, even if...
Bless their hearts for committing to it.
Even if a change takes it in the wrong direction, they'll bring it back.
Yep.
Right?
Totally. Oh, and to celebrate...
Craft beer and high gear.
Hell yeah, this is clutch. It's Redline Brew House out in Barrie. I don't know if you've ever been to Barrie, but it's a fine place. It has a Mary Brown's, which is a pretty decent fried chicken fast food place from the East Coast.
They've got one at Dundas and Bloor.
At Dundas and Bloor?
Yeah, in the Crossways apartment building.
What?
Yeah. Mary Brown's Chicken and Taters?
Holy shit, we're going, guys!
We're going to White Castle!
I don't think they're open now.
Oh, dude, that is like a little taste of home for Polly.
There's also one around the corner from where Astro holds their event.
That is true. I saw that one.
You can get so many friggin' potato wedges for $10.
Yeah, man. And my people love their potatoes.
Oh, I like the smell of this.
So is this in any way related to Clutch the Band?
No, but I do love Clutch the Band.
What's Paul bringing us? Just standard beer?
Yeah, good beers. You want, like, here's the thing. You tasted the High Park one, you were like, ooh, caramel. You know how much caramel flavor was put in it? None. It was malted barley.
I was making that up. I didn't taste caramel.
He's killing me. Anyways, do we have a fun time? Are we just going to take a little break? I could use a bio break.
And what kind of beer is this?
This is an American Pale Ale.
This is a serious beer. I like it.
I like it too. But yeah,
Ooh.
if you're listening to us, I hope you're following us on Facebook and Instagram. Post on our page, holler at us, let us know what you think of the FAQs and the updates.
Yeah, get at your boy. I'm your boy.
Just Paul.
We're all your boy. We could all be your boy.
It's true.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, I'm feeling positive about this, especially the intent. Is to make the game better, to diversify people's lists, to make things a little more balanced. I'm fine with the fact that they missed the mark in a couple of cases, but overall I'm feeling positive about the direction.
And one thing that is fun to keep in mind is maybe they're not missing the mark. maybe they want to drastically change what the meta is on our semi-regular basis.
It sells
To make-
models.
It sells models, and it just, again, not talking about top table LVOs and talking about the type of people who play with all the same gimmicky list for all of 7th edition and crush everybody going on. Maybe that's something they want to step away from.
Well, yeah, like, this is the closest thing that they have to expansions from Magic. Like, where they can add in new abilities or, like, tweak stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is a good business model, too, to change the meta, right? Like, you don't want the same player at the top because everybody will buy those units and then everybody owns them, and then that's it. And you want them to change so that people continue to buy more stuff.
Yeah, and the rule of 3 with that was what the guy got so angry about that he assaulted a Games Workshop manager over because he bought 9 Flying Hive Tyrants like a month ago, and then this FAQ dropped and he wanted to return them after he'd like semi-built them, and the guy said no, and he got to be kicked out by the police.
I need to see this this news story.
Yeah, I didn't see a report of that. But, yeah.
Anyways, we're going to take a little break. We're going to come back once we figure out fun time.
Yep.
Okay.
Fun
time. Alright, guys, this is going to be a quick and dirty one. So we all know the 4 Chaos Gods. Nick, tell me 2 Chaos Gods.
Paul?
No. Alright, Adam, you tell me 2.
Okay. Nurgle and Korn. Not the band, but closely related.
The vegetable?
Probably.
My God. Alright, the other 2 are Tzeentch and Slaanesh. Because obviously Nick doesn't... he's not interested in playing along right now. But back in the...
I'm playing along. I just like to make your life difficult.
That's true.
He
You
likes to
often
play
do.
with himself.
Ooh. But back in the early 80s and through the 90s, there was a renegade chaos god known as Malal, or Malice.
A renegade chaos god.
So the entire idea of this chaos god is the embodiment of chaos's indiscriminate and anarchic and self-destructive tendencies.
What chaos?
Yeah. So but the way that, like, you know, you kind of work against yourself. The nature of the power is kind of like parasitic, and it's sort of like empowering yourself through shedding those weaker elements. So it's like a purification, and so this god, like, existed in a couple of short stories and a couple of different publications. It didn't really have any rules, but now it pops up in the fluff in the background every now and then as the Sons of Malice.
They're chaos space. I remember them. Yeah.
Right. So
Chaos
they're
Space Marines, black and white, right?
That's right. That's their colors. So, and that was Malal's colors early on. So I just like this one. I like to highlight Malal every now and then because GW doesn't throw anything away ever, like, conceptually. So they're always recycling this stuff.
Except for the half Space Marine, half Eldar librarian of the Ultramarines Legion.
Oh, Clouseau, Obi-Wan Clouseau.
No,
That was his name.
was it?
Yeah.
And I think there was a Jacques in there.
Yeah, maybe. But I just like this idea. A lot of the times, people draw links between Malal and Be'lakor, because Be'lakor, in his origins, was a chaos power that broke free of the yoke of the 4 chaos gods. He's a chaos demon prince, undivided, and he, like, carved out his own territory in Mordheim. Like, so that's where he existed in the old world. In the new world, he's not the first demon prince. That's not his thing. He is?
Yeah, Be'lakor is the first demon prince.
So yeah, that's his deal. That's this being that tries to exist outside of chaos and, like, fight against it. And, like, one of the funny things about Be'lakor is he always sort of kind of plays himself, homie. So this is, you know, where this idea has, like, kind of just taken down the road by GW. So yeah, everything old is new again, and I don't know. You're your own worst enemy, I guess. Are you? You're looking up Obi-Wan Cluso?
No. I'm looking up the other guy, but we'll do a fun time on him because his name is Ilian Naste, and he's hilarious.
All right.
But yeah, it's interesting to have like a god of chaos that actually really represents that chaos and entropy. Because chaos isn't really chaos because they're all about order.
Their specific order.
Their specific order, which would make them antithetical to chaos as an idea.
Well,
lower C chaos.
Yeah, but this is the idea of the constant power struggle, I think, is why chaos is called chaos. Because there's a pantheon that can't coexist. They're always fighting against each other.
Yeah, but that's not chaos, right? Like, chaos is just
Happenstance.
no order, no rules, like...
Bedlam, yeah.
Yeah,
No.
just bedlam. Like, chaos is weird. It's not good. It's not evil. Like, if we look on the D&D scale, right? You got chaotic good, chaotic neutral, and chaotic evil.
Yeah.
Chaotic evil people scare me.
I think I might be chaotic evil.
No, you don't. No.
I worry sometimes. I guess the worry proves that I'm not. But maybe the worry is performative just to get you to trust me. I can't tell anymore.
I'm definitely chaotic good. But that's because, like, yeah. But anyways,
Yeah.
back to chaos. I've seen it around before. The Sons of Malice have cool fluff where, like, they actually fight other Chaos Space Marines on the side of the Imperium sometimes.
Yeah, they're just
to balance things out.
Yep.
Kind of like the Legion of the Damned, but for chaos.
Yeah, kind of. And yeah, Malal's symbol is a half white, half black skull. That imagery kind of got absorbed into the Mechanicum by the cybernetic skull. But yeah, it's just a cool idea, and now you know. The more you know.
And the Skaven worship them in the fantasy setting too, don't they? Because I think the Skaven worship a chaos god. I don't know enough about the fantasy setting, and don't ask me about the Age of Sigmar setting. I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know. There's like a Birdman, and he fires eels. I don't know. I don't get Age of Sigmar. It looks cool.
There are dwarves with more advanced technology than our own.
Fine.
The Dwemer.
Sure.
Duardin?
Yeah, I think Nick's been hitting the Skyrim a little bit hard.
I've been hitting Skyrim really hard lately.
All right. Well,
it's good stuff, man.
Spend more time painting those Death Watch.
Shh.
Yeah, man.
I have my hobby time set aside.
Okay. Well, I think we're done here.